James O'Keefe joining the program live now with a massive announcement. He tells us, let's get right to it. James O'Keefe of OMG Media, who's been doing God's work when it comes to the exposing of things that the government doesn't want you to know. Got a big old scalp wall, and, well, it looks like it might be getting bigger. Here we go. James, welcome back to the program. Last time you were on here, you teased that you had some very big things that you were working on, and since then you've exposed the royal family for their predatory activities in collusion with Jeffrey Epstein, along with an inside look at Jeffrey Epstein's island and temple and so on. But that's not what you're here on the program to talk about. We just want to thank you on behalf of the audience for, well, giving us more than the government's ever given us on Jeffrey Epstein. And for that, we are appreciative.
Thank you, Benny. Yeah, we have some big news. We just announced that I'm in talks to get back control of Project Veritas, and we have just launched a film 10 minutes ago on the internet. It's on my X, and it talks through the corruption and the conflicts of interest amongst the board members who fired me. We're co-investing in medical companies. Now we've discovered in deposition recordings, one of the board members saying that the company, quote, could be sold to Pfizer. So there was a lot of questions surrounding my firing from Project Veritas 2 years ago. We've released a trailer here, and in the trailer you see some of the deposition video recordings. I take you through a 10-minute video explaining everything, and we are announcing this docuseries today, Benny.
So why don't we start at the beginning here, because this was a massive shock to all, and many people saw this, I think, for what it was. Your departure from Project Veritas. Can you clear this up for the record? How did this come about, and what have you uncovered in this new documentary?
Well, that's what the movie is about. It's hard to explain and summarize in a moment, but effectively, these board members had fired me, and what I did not know, and what I've come to learn, is that they were co-investing in each other's companies. They were literally in business together, which appears to be a conflict of interest, and that's the subject of the film. I also take you inside the board meeting where I was fired. There's a recording of that meeting, and you get to hear all of these employees talk with bizarre and almost surreal accusations against me. It appears as though they were used by the board, some of them unbeknownst to them as useful idiots. And you see kind of an undercover look inside an organization that does undercover work. That's what we call it, the truth inside Veritas. I'm in talks currently with the board to regain control of Project Veritas, which is a nonprofit organization. And it's really a remarkable thing. Everyone's been asking what exactly happened. No one's ever gotten real answers. So this is a inside look, Benny.
So again, we encourage everybody. Here's the post up about the documentary. I would like to sort of hover over a very interesting release that you had, where you had the Project Veritas logo behind you, and this was a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And I just put a little red circle on it and said, wait a second, what's James telling us here? Is James trying to tell us that he is going to now take over Project Veritas? And I got a ton of pushback over this, James.
Yes.
And a lot of people, coming for me. And so, frankly, this is an internal family matter, so it's none of my business, right? So, here's what Veritas says publicly, here's what James says publicly. So what you're telling us publicly here is that it is true, and that you are actively attempting or have taken over Project Veritas again? Can you give us the status?
We're in talks to regain control of Project Veritas right now. And this film, which really the foreshadowing of that on the brick, the Veritas, was because this was about to come out. We didn't know when, but we're announcing it here today. You can see it right behind me. It's on the brick wall. Mm-hmm. And what's remarkable is that if you look at these videos I'm releasing today, this is not an internal family matter, Benny. This is a matter of public concern. This is in the public interest. 2 years and 3 months ago, I did a story on Pfizer showing a director of mRNA, Jordan Walker, talking about the vaccine, talking about how it was made in Wuhan in China, talking about how they don't tell the public all of this information. And then 1 week later, I was removed from my organization that I founded. What I did not know was that board members had co-investments in medical companies that they now said in federal court and federal proceedings, and they're videotaped saying this, that the companies could be sold to Pfizer. So this is a conflict of interest. It was not disclosed to me. Many people supported and support Project Veritas, and this is something that the public has a right to know. So we're announcing this investigation. There's more than one part of it. This is absolute bombshell. I know it just launched a moment ago, so none of your audience have seen it yet, but I encourage you all to go to my X and watch the 12-minute intro to this movie.
What is the status then with you're having a conversation about Project Veritas and about retaking over that organization, which of course was absolutely legendary. You built it from the ground up. You had an unbelievable team. We toured Project Veritas headquarters, for instance, multiple times. It was so very impressive, legendary what you built there, James. I guess what is the status of these negotiations? I mean, how is this process taking place? Is this a hostile takeover of Project Veritas? Is this going to be a sale of something? All
I can say is I'm in talks to regain control. That's all I'm right now going to say. That's all I'm allowed to say. Okay. There's more to say very soon, but that's all I can tell you right here, right now. Okay. And the reason, and partially the reason why, is because I want people to focus on the contents of the video that I've just launched, which is unbelievable. And no one's seen it yet, but you have to watch this video, and there'll be more news soon. But I know you got a lot of pushback, Benny, on what you said, but that was foreshadowing that this logo behind me for what we're announcing right now. We spent 2 months preparing this for launch, and here we go.
Yeah, I've known you for a long time, James, and well, you're certainly not somebody to let a wrong thing go on. And so, when you get a bee in your bonnet, you follow through. So, I assumed that it meant something when you're appearing with a Veritas logo behind you. Okay, so what can we expect in the future, Jane? I always appreciate asking this question. What can we expect in the future? Obviously, we've put up the tweet one more time so that everyone can see what James has just released, and the alleged conflict of interest that existed inside of this organization. If this were like moving forward, James, if this happens, what are we looking at here? Jake Tapper, the setup here is that Jake Tapper says you won and he lost. So that's pretty impressive.
I hesitate to talk about the future when we just dropped this massive, huge bombshell minutes ago. And I think I'm curious to see what the reaction is going to be from the board members themselves. I'm currently suing them for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, publication of private facts, and other torts. So, it's remarkable about the film. I think it's a story about original sin. It's about human nature. It's about the dark side of human nature, especially when you're going after the most powerful people in the world. And when people get put under pressure and they get put under a high-powered lens, things tend to break. And there are very few people that do this sort of truth-telling. I think the reason why is it's so very expensive, not just financially, but in every other way, something can be pricey. So this is really an interesting, journey that I've been on, trying to find a model to do this in a way that's scalable. It's very difficult, and especially in this new media environment. So what's next is this is part one. There's going to be more installments. There's going to be more deposition recordings, more court transcripts as this goes towards a jury trial, and as well as we see how this all unfolds. And it'll be interesting to see their reaction to this, Benny. But this is breaking news on your program, actually. You're the first person to report this, that there were people on the board members of Project Veritas that were co-investing. They were in business together in certain companies that they said under oath could be sold to Pfizer, one of the companies that we were investigating at the time.
So there is something else that happens, if you don't mind if I pivot here very quickly, James. It happened this week that includes some of your reporting, that crossed over into some of your reporting. And that was Kash Patel and Dan Bongino sitting down with Maria Bartiromo on Fox and saying with absolute certitude that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in that prison cell. What do you make of that?
Well, my team hopes that some of our reporting and some of our revelations helped, gin up interest. I'm not taking credit for that, but I'm hoping that some of what we did, I took a lot of heat, Benny, for the report that we did on Attorney General Pam Bondi. And that was a tough one, but I felt that it was appropriate for me to publish that. What would I be if I did not publish that? This is the video of the Attorney General saying privately to a nanny that they had tens of thousands of videos of little kids. And then when I reached out to their office for comment, they went out publicly and said it. And I reported that sequence of events. I think Kash is a good guy. I don't know him that well. I think they're both good people, but I think bureaucracy, the nature of government and the nature of bureaucracy tends to corrupt things. So as good as these guys are, I don't have a lot of faith in the system that they lead. And I do agree with, I think it was Sean Ryan, who was on Tucker's podcast this week, and he just said, everything's a lie. I think that's what Sean Ryan actually said. Was it yesterday or the day before? He said, everything's a lie. And I speak as someone who, again, not to draw a corollary here, but I was fired from the organization that I founded with the mission of, believing the best in people and exposing the truth. And the people that were on my board were co-investing in companies that could be sold to the company that we're investigating. So I think that Kash and Dan are good guys. I've had a chance to know them a little bit. I don't have a lot of faith in the system they lead, and therefore perhaps they're told this information. Perhaps they're given information. Perhaps the information that they're given isn't true, for example.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to ever know. We have so many members of Congress and so many people from the intel circles coming on our program saying this evidence, this smoking gun, they won't be allowed to exist. You won't be allowed to have all this evidence just sitting there. It has been destroyed. And we all saw the shredder trucks pulled up to the outside of the DOJ and FBI. It's a couple months ago before President Trump took power. And so
if the information comes out, it won't come out from someone within the system. It'll come out from someone outside of the system, an independent journalist. And then the audience, your audience, rightfully so, is so skeptical that if the person isn't killed, it's almost like they're going to accuse me or you of controlled op. They're going to say I'm controlled op because I haven't been killed yet. So it's kind of a weird dynamic. I think this is my read on the heartbeat of America. People have lost so much faith in the system. Things are so completely broken that, maybe we're reaching a turning point here. And someone with access to this blackmail operation that occurred will come forward. What I will tell you, what I will report to you, is as a result of that Prince Andrew recording, as a result of the Pam Bondi, as a result of sources are coming to me. Sources are, in fact, coming forward, and hopefully more will, with this information. They just don't know who to turn to, and they certainly don't trust the FBI, unfortunately.
And James Comer was on the program who said, I hope James O'Keefe has the Epstein files. That's what he says. So we'll see.
The sources don't trust the FBI. I can tell you that right now. They don't trust the FBI, and neither do I, unfortunately.
Why would you trust the people who are running Epstein? I mean, that seems like a massive conflict of interest.
But if I do release those, I can guarantee you that the people in our government won't like me. And that's a terrifying notion. That's a disquieting notion. And, the undercover girl that got the Prince Andrew thing, she was scared for her life because the guy knows her name. So this is really scary stuff. And it sometimes you want to pause and go, I don't know. It's spiritually heavy stuff. That's why I made the video I did. I felt I went 9 days. I didn't even tweet. I just kind of withdrew a little bit. And but you can't stop living your life. You have to do the right thing. And but I guarantee you the information is out there. And hopefully the people that have it have the courage to come forward.
We were put on the enemies of Ukraine list by the official Ukrainian government, and we printed it out and put it on the wall. We were so excited about it, and so, in case you're wondering, I need any street cred, we're on the official enemies list of Ukraine. So Voldemort Zelensky has us on a list. Okay, good. All right, that's a good start. All right, it's a good start.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
I framed when the FBI raided me. They dropped the case 3 months ago, Benny. They released the affidavit with the probable cause. The probable cause is the reason why they got the search warrant. The FBI literally redacted every single word of the 2-page probable cause. I mean, every word, even the little footnotes. So I have that framed in my office. But that doesn't that concern you? Like, why haven't they unredacted that? I mean, it's just the whole thing is just so broken. And this is our current FBI. And it's like, why don't you just tell the reason why you raided a newsroom? And that's what I'm saying. I don't have a lot of faith in the system.
Well, by every passing hour and moment, James, your Ashley Biden diary gets more and more logical, actually. It becomes like the contents of Ashley Biden's diary becomes like the official story, actually. Not that we ever questioned it, but that's why the FBI raided you, right? So
has the FBI raided any deep state people yet, Benny, to your knowledge? Currently?
No. Well, I mean, it includes, it depends on what you think of judges, right? And so on and so forth, right? We've seen some judges taken away in handcuffs, but, I'm not sure you'd consider them deep state. I think that James Comey was probably ripe for a FBI raid, right? He did a lot more than Roger Stone ever did. Where was the FBI raid at 4 a.m. in front of his house with Fox News cameras rolling? Like, that seemed logical. James Comey did worse than Roger Stone, and Roger Stone got that treatment. So,
I mean, it seems like the people that are held accountable are the ones who are holding the people accountable. It's very, very inverted, but it's human nature. It really is. I mean, not to bring things full circle here, but going back to the reason I'm on your program, we've launched this film called The Truth Inside Veritas. There's a 12-minute video online. It really is about human nature, and it's about the heart of darkness and the fight between good and evil. And sometimes good does not triumph. Yeah, sometimes people do not appeal to their better angels, and there's a fight between the rational and the irrational that's kind of playing out here. So I encourage everybody to go to watch this film, The Truth Inside Veritas, O'KeefeMediaGroup.com. You could subscribe there and watch the hour-long film. There's a 12-minute video online that takes you through all the newsworthy parts of the film and shows you the deposition footage of these board members and what they did. Very disheartening, very discouraging for me for a long time, but I had to bootstrap and pick myself back up and start OMG. And now we're in talks to regain control and reacquire Project Veritas. And we're going to continue doing the work that we always do. We do videos every week. We have an undercover report next week in the deep state. But this part 1 installment, I'm really curious to see the reception because I might have a 2, 3, 4, and 5 coming as well.
What a story. And James O'Keefe always on top of some of the more fascinating news cycles in this country. Please follow James here. Obviously, 3.3. We're just going to round up. 3.3 million people follow James on X. But, of course, OMG Media is across all social media. Follow their work. Godspeed, James.
Thank you, Benny.